Hello, musicians of the Minnesota Youth Orchestras. I made a video which serves as a review of the practice well session we had, and I hope you find it helpful. Let's get started right away. The First Symphony of Beethoven. This is a movement with many different types of strokes and more. We can start with examining a few of these strokes. First, I bring your attention to measure 15. Off-string strokes in piano. Then measure 37, on and off the string combo. Measure 41, off the string with some string crossing. Measure 46, chords. Let's pick a little bit with each one. Pre-practice for measure 15. We need excellent off-the-string strokes. Let's practice with a pair of socks. We're going to roll them up and make them into a ball. Okay? And we're going to actually put it in the palm of our hand, hold it, turn over the hand, and now we actually have a rather nice bow grip. And we're going to practice our spiccato like this. It's light and comfortable. Okay, now our preliminary work is done. Let's go to measure 15. This is very soft, although we still need to be heard, and it's just sandwiched between different bars. The challenge is to be able to be where we want to be in the bow when we start this bar. We don't want to be here. Not here either. But right here. In the middle. So how can we get here? We have to think backwards, actually. Let's look at this. At the beginning of the Allegro con brio section, we have 2 bars to get to the middle of the bow, like this. We just worked out a pretty neat bow distribution plan. Measure 37. This is a stroke where it's going back and forth between being on the string and being off the string, and we need to make sure that we don't get them mixed up. We have every note off the string this time for 4 entire bars with a crescendo, sometimes with string crossing, sometimes without. Let's also not rush here. It's easy to rush in these passages when we're playing kind of fast, and then also with a crescendo. For the chorus, it's really important that we keep our arms relaxed, and it's almost as if we're drawing a circle with our right arm. We want to make sure that the touchdown for each of these chords is with good sound, so it doesn't sound like we're just collapsing onto the string or like we're assaulting it. We also want to be vibrating on these chords because we want the sound to ring and not be abrupt. Going a bit further in the first movement, please bring your attention to measure 69. Here we need to do our retakes. We also need to make sure that we don't rush. Good posture will be of great help here. You want to have a great balance of your upper body. we need to ground ourselves as we retake our bows. Let's also look at measure 95. Here, I want to talk to you about how to practice shifting. In these kinds of places, it's a fairly good policy to practice with a guide note. A guide note? What is that? It is an unwritten note that helps us getting from an old to a new position. It's necessary in all shifts that involve at least 2 fingers, especially in a fast passage like this. I would break down the process even further. First, what is the guide note going to be for this particular passage? In shifting from the D to the B, I take the original finger before the shift, which is for me the second finger, and then with that finger, I want to get to the correct position of my next note, which is the B on the 4th finger. That makes it the first position. In this case, if I were to place the second finger in the key on the first position, the second finger would be the G sharp. I will now practice this shift with a guide note. Notice that I'm gauging the hand move with my guide note. I will also simplify and begin by playing each note just once. And of course, I will play with the guide note. Once I feel more comfortable, I will start to play a little bit faster, but still with a guide note. I would also practice with the notes being slurred or with different rhythmic patterns. Eventually, I will actually not play out loud the guide note, but still going through the process in my mind and making sure that my shifting move is exactly as if I'm playing a guide note. My final words before I move on to the next excerpt. I would say that it would be important to practice this movement with a metronome. It's indicated in the music that the tempo is going to be 112 to a half note. I would actually start very slowly at about 72 to a half note. And instead of having a metronome click for every other beat, I would make it click on every quarter beat, which would be actually 142. From there, I would go up in increments of tenths until I actually arrive at the tempo I want. Let's move on to the Penderecki. This is a second minuet. A minuet is often misconceptualized as being solely in 3. It's actually good to also feel it in 6. The break often comes after the 5. In this excerpt, I'd like to talk to you a bit about the brush stroke. A brush stroke is the one that is in between being off the string, like a spiccato, and being on the string, like a détaché. It has a little bit of going up and down motion, but the bow never actually comes off the string. In order to practice a brush stroke, I would actually do this away first from the instrument. Let's take that pair of socks again and put it in a ball so you can easily hold it in your hand, and that gives you a very, very nice bow grip, of course, and a very nice shape for your right hand. And we're going to practice the brush stroke slowly like this. You see, it's not a stiff movement. It's not horizontally straight, And it's not up and down either. It's not this way, and it's not this way. Instead, it's actually a combination. It's very gentle, of course. It goes sideways, a little bit up and down, like that. Think like you're actually stroking a beautiful, nice kitty with a beautiful coat. It's that kind of soft touch. Okay, so let's practice this opening bars of the minuet. We can sing it and we can bow it with our sock in the hand. Ta-da-dum, pa-da-pa-da-pa-da-da. Ta-da-bum, pa-da-pa-da-pum. Pa-da-bum, pa-da-pa-da-pum. Okay, and then when you feel more comfortable, you can actually transfer this and do it with your bow and playing the actual theme. In measures 4 and 5, there is a long note followed by a short stroke. So what am I going to do? I'm actually going to lift the bow slightly after the long note. Come a little bit closer than to the frog, then play on. Measure 7, the fast 16th notes. How can we get these clear and clean? I'm going to take the notes in question and repeat them like this. I also practice it with different rhythmic patterns. Measures 9 and 10, these bars give me two challenges. One is to make the mordent clear, and the other is the actual rhythm. For the mordent, I like to play it with half pizzicato, like this. Now the rhythm. We can all say apple, right? So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, apple. We come in with the mordent on the p. 1, 2, 3, apple. 1, 2, 3, apple. I will now play this entire excerpt again, and let's pay attention to all the things we already talked about. When I practice this excerpt, I always want to be very, very extra elegant, because that is the style for this music, and by following the style, it makes me very chic.
Hello, my name is Michael Kaufman, and I'm a cellist in the Los Angeles Opera Orchestra and the Cello Quintet Socorro. Today we're talking about the cello excerpt from Mozart's First Symphony in E-flat major. Now, E-flat major already presents some challenges. There are a lot of flats, and as you may know from playing other pieces in E-flat major, like the E-flat major cello suite, the fourth finger can get quite tired because of all the extensions. I would recommend that you try to angle your fourth finger so it's quite square to the cello. And this allows the first finger to do the extending instead of trying to have an angled position and doing the extension throughout the whole hand, which is quite tiring. So for instance, in first position, if your fourth finger is on G, you can just extend back with your first finger. And if you do this, you'll be able to get through pieces in E-flat major without getting nearly as tired. When I'm practicing this scale, I'm going to start practicing it very slowly, and I really want to hear all of the good stuff between the notes. So I'm going to play it super legato, keep my arms really, really relaxed as possible, and see what I can hear. So I heard quite a lot when I was shifting. Let's see if I can go a little faster, see what happens. faster still. Now, even when I did it the last time, you probably didn't hear much of the slides, but I was thinking it. And I think that's important. You really want to think the slides and you want to feel your way between the notes. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the stroke. Now, the stroke that you want in this excerpt is a brush stroke. It's not quite a spiccato, it's not quite on the string, it's somewhere in the middle. And the way to get this is to find the balance point of your bow, you know, the part where your bow balances naturally. That's almost it. There we go. It's obviously closer to the frog than the tip. And what I'd like to say is you go from about the balance point maybe 2 inches out. And that's kind of the area that you want to be using with this stroke. It's almost on the string, but has a little bit of air in it. So it's not like a spiccato or on the string, but there's a little bit of a brush element. I think what really helps is keeping your bow right in that place near the balance point and also activating the pinky a little bit in the stroke. That really helps to lighten it up, get some air in your stroke. Lastly, I wanted to say, as cellists, we don't have that many opportunities to play Mozart. There aren't any solo cello pieces by Mozart, but there's a lot of wonderful chamber music. He wrote many, many great string quartets, piano chamber music, and of course, these symphonies. So I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself at this stage is to listen to some recordings and get the style of Mozart in your ear. Since it's not something you're practicing on a daily basis, it's something that you have to take a little extra effort to do. And eventually, I recommend really immersing yourself in the string quartet repertoire and the symphonic repertoire, and learning how to play these incredible bass lines. Good luck.